Very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, below separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Race to Power with me, Ananya Datta. Let's start talking politics. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's political fate seems to be written. If the opposition and the people on the streets weren't enough, his own party members are now standing against him. Also, allegation of election fraud from Russia has claimed another victim. Romania was set to hold their presidential runoff election this Sunday, but it now stands cancelled. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol will face an impeachment vote on Saturday. Now the leaders of his own party have demanded that he stand down over his martial law attempt, warning he posed a great danger to the country. The comments from Han Dong-hoon, the head of the ruling People's Power Party, indicates that enough lawmakers may vote to impeach him on Saturday. Han's comments were a U-turn from Thursday when he said he would block the impeachment, and another party leader insisted that all 108 members of the PPP would unite to support Yoon in Saturday's vote. But Han said Friday that Yoon's refusal to acknowledge he had done anything wrong in declaring martial law on Tuesday night had prompted his change of position. Han said Yoon had not taken any personal action against military officials who had illegally intervened.
The president is not even admitting that it was wrong to declare martial law. Therefore, if President Yoon Suk-yeol is allowed to continue running the government affairs, there is a significant risk of extreme actions like reattempting to impose martial law, which could potentially put the Republic of Korea and its citizens in great danger.
WION suspended civilian rule late Tuesday and deployed troops and helicopters to the parliament only for lawmakers to vote down the measure and force him into a U-turn in a night of protests and drama. The opposition quickly filed an impeachment motion saying WION gravely violated the constitution and the law. The opposition holds a large majority in the 300-member legislature and requires only a handful of defections from the PPP to secure the two-thirds majority needed for impeachment. According to a poll issued Thursday by Realmeter, 73.6% of respondents supported the impeachment. Thousands of protesters continued to rally in central Seoul and near the parliament on Thursday evening, demanding the president step down. If the impeachment motion passes, WION will be suspended pending a verdict by the Constitutional Court. If the judges give the nod, WION will be impeached and new elections must take place within 60 days. Now, VOA correspondent Bill Gallo in Seoul is tracking this story very closely. He tells us what's expected next.
The one thing that we know for now is that the impeachment vote is still set to happen in this building tomorrow at about 7 p.m. So tomorrow, here's what we expect to happen. Protests pretty much all day, culminating in this vote that will happen right here behind me. There's expected to be many, many protesters. And whether they're very happy or very angry, I suppose, will depend on the outcome of that vote. The expectation is that the protests are going to get really big tomorrow. That's sort of when we're expecting people, of course, to be off work and attend sort of political rallies and things like that. And I think that's why the impeachment vote is planned for a Saturday to sort of mobilize the street power. But as far as what people are saying on the streets, there's a lot of confusion here. People who have watched South Korean politics for decades are still confounded by what they've seen this week. It makes very little sense in political terms, in national security terms, and really, at the end of the day, we're left with just a shocking amount of questions.
And in other news, French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that he would name a new prime minister soon. This after Michel Barnier resigned following a no-confidence vote in the parliament. The motion was approved by 331 votes, far more than the required 288 votes. And this is the first time a French government has been voted down by the parliament in more than 60 years. A move Macron labelled unprecedented in his 10-minute address to the nation. He accused the far right and hard left for collaborating in what he called an anti-republic front to bring down the government.
By doing so, they chose chaos. And that's the only project they share with the radical left, with the support of the rest of the left-wing alliance. Not to do, but to undo, to wreak havoc.
Macron thanked Barnier for his dedication during his brief term as the Prime Minister and also informed that Barnier and his team will be in charge of current affairs until the appointment of a new government. It is still unclear if the government will be in place before Saturday, when world leaders, including US President-elect Donald Trump, are due to attend the opening ceremony of the rebuilt Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Meanwhile, after the presidential address, French left-wing leader and founder of the France Unbowed Party, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, cleared that the no-confidence was aimed at Macron, not Barnier. Mélenchon said that the new Popular Front alliance maintained its pick for Prime Minister, financial crime specialist Lucie Castet, who Macron previously ignored. However, Mélenchon also added that his party would support a new candidate for the post, even if that is not Castet, as long as they apply the main measures of the left New Popular Front alliance.
If the next Prime Minister implements the measures for which we were preferred, overturn of retirement at the age of 64, increase in minimum wages, salaries, then we will support them. Otherwise, we will fight them.
Now, correspondent Ross Cullen is joining us on this broadcast from Paris. Ross, what is the latest you're hearing from Paris?
Yeah, the latest is that different political party leaders have been visiting Emmanuel Macron at the Elysee Palace today for talks. We know that Emmanuel Macron wanted in the major set-piece primetime address that he gave on Thursday evening to try to create a government of all political forces. He wants to try to find a new form of political compromise. Traditionally in France, it's been very hard to cross party lines and try to come to some form of coalition. We know that there are very entrenched positions. Compromise is not regularly achieved in the French Parliament, which usually runs off one party having a majority. But in the hung parliament, in a divided parliament, after an inconclusive election, it's going to be very hard for the president to select a prime minister and therefore after that appoint a government which commands a majority of MPs' support. We know that the left-wing leaders from the socialists have been for talks today at the Elysee Palace. They say that Emmanuel Macron did not lay down preconditions on any subject and that Emmanuel Macron was ready to speak to other left-leaning parties like the Green Party and the far left France Unbowed. But the left did say we won't enter any coalition where the Prime Minister comes from the right, like the outgoing Prime Minister Michel Barnier. The right wing, like the Conservative, the Republican Party, they have also said they won't enter into any coalition where the Prime Minister comes from the left. So already we are seeing divisions starting to widen up, and divisions that might be very hard for Emmanuel Macron to bridge. There are already questions about the budget. Emergency powers will probably have to be used to roll over the 2024 budget into next year because that couldn't be agreed, and the budget was the crux of the whole reason why the opposition parties laid down that motion of no confidence against Michel Barnier earlier this week. So we are seeing divisions, but we are seeing that search for a new Prime Minister continue.
All right, Ross, thank you so much for all those updates from Paris. Elon Musk's star power and political clout was on display at the Capitol Hill on Thursday. The world's richest man and fellow entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy met with legislators behind closed doors to discuss President-elect Donald Trump's plans to cut government spending. Trump has named Musk and Ramaswamy as co-leaders of the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, D.O.G.E. Although the office has a purely advisory role, its influence was clearly visible. As Musk and Ramaswamy strode into the Capitol, Republican Speaker Mike Johnson touted a new day in America.
We're all excited. I know you're all excited that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have joined us today. This is an important day. It's the beginning of a journey. You've heard what D.O.G.E. is all about, the Department of Government Efficiency. It's a new thing. And this is a new day in Washington and a new day in America.
During Trump's election campaign, Musk vowed to reduce federal spending by $2 trillion, and this would represent cutting total U.S. spending by a third. Writing in the Wall Street Journal last month, Musk and Ramaswamy laid out plans for the White House to cut staffers, trim government programs and reduce federal regulations, even if it means bypassing Congress, which holds budgetary power. However, some prominent lawmakers on both sides have supported the initiative, highlighting plans to track spending cuts. Even progressive senators Bernie Sanders agreed with Musk on reducing Pentagon waste.
What's D.O.G.E?
Will you take a question, Mr. Musk?
Elon, how's the meeting been today?
Now, those are the visuals that we received from Capitol Hill, where you can clearly see Elon Musk, as well as accompanying him was also Vivek Ramaswamy. Both visited the lawmakers in Capitol Hill for a closed-door meeting, the details of which, of course, we are awaiting. But remember, these two men are part of Donald Trump's cabinet, not the cabinet rather, a part of the team. They're not part of the federal cabinet, but they're part of the team that is going to look at cutting spending when it comes to federal spending.
Will you take a question, Mr. Musk?
There is not one but two countries that are witnessing mass protests. The demonstrations are being carried out in support of the European Union, and at the epicenter of these movements are the countries of Romania and Georgia. One is gearing up for a presidential runoff election, the other is still witnessing post-election uproar. Just a short while back, in fact, Romania's top court cancelled the presidential runoff election that was scheduled to be held on Sunday. The statement read, and I'm quoting, "The court has decided to annul the entire electoral process for the election of the president of Romania to ensure the correctness and legality of the electoral process." The decision comes amid allegations of election interference by Russia and a wave of protests and rallies in the country. On Thursday, thousands rallied in support of the pro-European presidential candidate, just days ahead of the now scrapped presidential runoff. Many were seen waving European Union flags and chanting slogans of freedom. While in Georgia, thousands took to the streets in the capital of Tbilisi, demanding that the government resume the process of gaining a European Union membership. The ruling Dream Party had suspended talks on accession to EU last week, and that decision triggered mass demonstrations and rallies outside the parliament. In the first round of elections last month, far-right leader D.O.G.E established as comfortable lead. The result has many worried that D.O.G.E might win the presidential elections, putting a pro-Russia leader at the helm of affairs in Romania. His rising popularity has also raised concerns over Romania's future with EU and NATO. But with elections now scrapped, political uncertainty has increased for the country. Over in Georgia, elections are long over, even though the opposition has been contesting the result for weeks. The ruling party continues to make waves. Leaders from several opposition parties are actively involved in the pro-EU protests, which have entered the second week.
Protesting here that there's these people who declared themselves as the government and the parliament have basically stolen elections and hijacked our nation in favor of our occupier, Russian Federation. So basically this is an occupying regime, and we are protesting against this occupying regime.
If we want freedom, we need to fight for freedom. So it is dangerous to be here, but it is worth it.
Thousands are urging the government to resume the membership process for EU after the Dream Party suspended talks till 2028. The ruling party has repeatedly been accused of being pro-Russia, and the latest stance has many opposition parties and their supporters worried about Georgia's collective identity. For a few years now, many have been batting for a more substantial European identification, and accession to EU was a step in that direction. Let's now go across to the United Kingdom. Reform UK has surged ahead of Labour in a shocking national opinion poll, with 24% of voters backing Nigel Farage's party. Labour trails closely behind with 23%, while the Tories lead with 26%. And this marks the first time Reform UK has overtaken Labour in a Westminster voting intention poll. The poll conducted by Find Out Now surveyed 2,607 adults and shows a 2-point increase for Reform UK from last week. Labour, on the other hand, has dropped by 2 points, and this significant shift in public opinion has sparked confidence in Reform UK's leadership, with chairperson Zia Yusuf saying that he is confident this momentum will carry them to victory in the next general election. Reform leader Nigel Farage says that the poll shows that his party has real momentum. Reform UK's surge in popularity can be attributed to its growing membership and increasing visibility. The party recently passed 100,000 members and unveiled Dame Andre Jenkins, a former Tory minister, as a candidate for a mayoral election in May. Now, the party's leadership is focused on May's county council elections, where they aim to win over 100 councillors to pose a credible challenge to the Labour Party. With momentum on their side, Reform UK says it is confident of making a significant impact on UK's political landscape. Labour's decline in popularity has sparked concerns among party leaders, with the latest poll adding pressure to Keir Starmer's leadership. And Starmer sought to move on from a series of scandals in his first 5 months with a major speech on Thursday in which he outlined 6 milestones for his government.
Our plan for change is a break, both with the unrealistic bluster of Boris Johnson, but also with the acceptance of decline that was Rishi Sunak's 5 pledges. Our plan for change is the most ambitious and credible programme for government in a generation, and we embrace the risk that comes with it.
Incidentally, support for reform at the general election came largely at the expense of the Conservatives, but it came second to Labour in 98 constituencies, including many red wall seats. Now, as the UK's political landscape continues to shift and national poll reflecting the voting intention of the nation, it remains to be seen if Reform UK can make a significant stride and impact on UK's future. Now, former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has issued an ultimatum to the government, warning of a civil disobedience movement if his party's demands are not met by December 14th. He has also announced a grand gathering in Peshawar on December 13th to pay homage to those killed during the PTI's Islamabad protest. Imran Khan has demanded the release of political prisoners facing trial and the establishment of a judicial commission to investigate the events of May 9th last year and the November 26th crackdown on PTI protesters. He also announced a 5-member negotiation team to discuss these issues with the government. Imran Khan has given the government an ultimatum. As we said, PTI has claimed that at least 12 of its workers were killed and 1,000 were arrested during the protest. The government has categorically denied using live ammunition against the protesters and said that 4 law enforcers, including 3 rangers and policemen, were killed during the protest. This comes as the former Prime Minister Imran Khan was indicted just on Thursday on charges of inciting attacks against the military in a case stemming from anti-government rallies led by his party last year. More than 100 individuals have been indicted in the case. Opposition leader in the National Assembly, Umar Ayub, and Punjab's former Law Minister, Raja Basharat, were taken into custody after the judge announced his decision. A Pakistani court has also issued fresh arrest warrants against Khan's wife Bushra Bibi in Tosha Khana graft case. Khan and Bibi are accused of illegally selling state gifts during his tenure, and according to prosecutors, these gifts include gold-coloured AK-47 gun, very expensive watches and a complete diamond set. In the midst of fresh warrants and her husband's renewed call for protest, a video shows Bushra Bibi resurfacing. After her whereabouts were unknown following the final call protest in Islamabad, Bibi was seen meeting the family of a PTI worker who was killed during the protest. Pakistan's army has called for strict laws to be implemented with respect to free speech, as the military feels that polarization is growing under its disguise. At a commanders' conference in Rawalpindi chaired by Pakistan's Chief of Army Staffer General Asim Munir, military leaders raised concerns over quote-unquote growing unethical use of freedom of expression. Meanwhile, the chairperson of Pakistan's Telecommunication Authority has denied the existence of any policy causing slow internet speeds in the country. And this comes as several internet users have accused the government of deliberately slowing down to crush dissent. Now, Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has a report on this from Islamabad.
Well, Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has said that his party will be holding a rally in Peshawar, the provincial capital where his own party rules, in memory of the events or in memory of those people who have lost their lives on the 26th of November when the PTI protesters marched on towards Islamabad. Now, the PTI alleges that at least 12 people have been killed, whereas the government maintains that it has not fired a single bullet. It is pertinent to mention that independently WION has been able to verify at least 7 deaths. With that being said, it is also pertinent to mention that Imran Khan has said that in case if his demands are not met by the 13th, then he will be calling for a civil disobedience campaign. What are those demands? Are very interesting. One, he's asked for the release of all political prisoners, and number 2, he's asked that a judicial commission be formed to investigate the events of the 26th of November. Now, it is also pertinent to mention or remind the viewers of the fact that in 2014, Imran Khan had called for a similar civil disobedience campaign. That did not work out for long, and the government is yet to react on Imran Khan's call for action, urging the government to form this judicial commission. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for WION World is One.
And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta signing off for WION World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
This week on Check It Out, we show you how London's Heathrow Airport is going the AI way. We also give you a sneak peek into what visitors can expect at the Electric Dreams exhibition and find out how AI is helping amateur tennis players become the next tennis legend. All this and much more on WION World is One at these times.
Business Masters is an exciting show, I think, because it not only talks about the company's philosophies around how they have grown, but also how individuals have really used their own philosophy to integrate into businesses. I think this is very useful for anyone who's starting a business, who's running a business, or not just entrepreneurs, but even students and professionals who are wanting to get into business.
Pushpa makes a comeback, and we get you everything you need to know about the movie. Dive right into holiday mode with our list of rom-coms. And know rare facts about Britney Spears, aka the Princess of Pop. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanswal, at these times only on WION Club.
Two South African opposition parties asked the country's top court to revive impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa over a scandal where more than $500,000 in cash was stashed in a couch at his ranch and then stolen. Outgoing US President Joe Biden visits Angola, fulfilling a promise made in late 2022 to visit sub-Saharan Africa. It is also Biden's first trip to the continent since becoming president. And designers give new life to second-hand clothing as Ghana's capital drowns in fast fashion waste. That's this week on World of Africa. At these times on WION, World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Vielleicht nur